All right, so, you know, we're all kind of swimming in this AI world these days,
Yeah.
right? It's everywhere.
It really is.
But there's this other term, API, that keeps popping up alongside AI, and it seems like they're pretty tight. So we're going to, do a deep dive today and try to figure out AI and APIs. What's the connection? What makes them such a power couple?
Well, think of it this way, like they're both these individual pieces, like puzzle pieces, right?
Yeah.
You've got this AI piece, and you've got this API piece, and each one is kind of cool on its own, but when you put them together, that's when things really start to click. Like you've already seen how quickly people are jumping on the AI bandwagon. Remember that stat you found about ChatGPT?
Oh, yeah. 8.2% of workers in the U.S. and Europe were already messing around with it, like back in March.
Of this year.
This year, which is crazy. Like, that's faster than people adopted refrigerators.
That's true. And it shows how much potential everyone sees in AI. But we also have to remember that AI, right now, is at what's called the peak of inflated expectations on something called the Gartner hype cycle.
Okay, break that down for me. Explain it like I've never heard of that before.
Imagine a roller coaster. Right now, we're at the top of the climb, super excited about AI, but haven't actually started the ride yet.
Okay.
And that peak is where everybody's hopes are like super high, thinking AI can solve all the world's problems.
Okay, so then we're about to go down that big drop where we realize, hold on, maybe it can't do everything.
Yeah. And that dip is when we start to understand the real capabilities and the limitations of AI. But the thing is, that drop isn't a failure. It's actually where the real innovation happens.
Okay.
It's where we move from the hype to actually understanding and building practical applications. And that's where APIs come in. They kind of bridge that gap between the potential and the real world use.
Okay, I'm starting to see the bigger picture here, but
Yeah.
one thing I've always wondered, when I read about AI, it always sounds like you need a super expensive lab and a team of geniuses to do anything with it. Is that true?
Not at all. That's one of the things that's so cool about APIs. They make AI accessible to, anyone. Think of them like a translator. You don't need to understand all the crazy math and algorithms behind these complex AI models. APIs let you talk to them in a way that makes sense.
So the API is like the user-friendly interface for AI.
You got it. It's like this, imagine like a brilliant scientist creates this super powerful machine in their lab, but it's got all these complicated controls, knobs, and buttons that nobody else can understand. An API is like if they take that complicated machine and put it in a sleek, simple box with just a couple of easy-to-use buttons, so now anyone can use it.
Right.
That's what APIs do for AI.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I kind of get the basics.
Yeah.
But if we think of AI as trying to be like human intelligence, how does it even get information about the world? Like, how does it see and hear stuff?
Well, that's where these architectural patterns of how AI and APIs kind of play together, right? Think of APIs as the eyes and ears of AI systems. They feed the AI information that it needs to understand the world and learn from it.
Can you give us like a concrete example of how that works?
Absolutely. Do you remember that code snippet that you sent over? The one that said curl, and then it said something about saying, this is a test.
Oh, yeah. I was trying to figure out how to get ChatGPT to actually do stuff.
Well, that code, even though it looks kind of cryptic, is actually just using an API to talk to ChatGPT. It's like slipping ChatGPT a note that says, hey, process this information. And those simple instructions are what's called a prompt.
So prompting is like sending a text to ChatGPT, asking it to do something.
That's a great way to think about it. It's how we communicate with the AI model. And then on the flip side, the AI uses APIs to communicate back to us, or even to take actions out there in the digital world. And that's where the output pattern comes in. Think of it as like the hands of the AI, how it acts on what it's learned.
Okay, so that's how AI gets its info and then acts on it using APIs. But where does it go beyond just answering a single prompt? Like, where does the real magic happen?
Well, that's what we're going to get into next. It's like taking all these building blocks of AI capabilities and then using them to build something truly extraordinary.
Okay, so we've got these building blocks. AI doing its thinking thing and APIs connecting it to the world. So, like, what kind of cool stuff can we actually build with these two?
This is where it gets really exciting. We're moving beyond just like single tasks and into this area of like complex applications. Remember those ChatGPT plugins you were looking at?
Oh, yeah. Those are really neat. They're like little apps inside ChatGPT. You can book a flight, find a recipe, that sort of thing.
Exactly. They're a great example of how AI and APIs work together to create something way more powerful than they could alone. Like each plugin is using APIs to connect with a bunch of different services and bring all that functionality right into ChatGPT.
So instead of just asking it a question, I could actually have it, like book my flight based on what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
That's the idea. And it goes even further. There are tools out there like AutoGPT, LangChain, and Flowwise AI that take this to like a whole other level.
Oh, yeah. I think those were mentioned in some of the articles. What makes them so special?
Well, imagine they're like the conductor of an AI orchestra. They can bring together a bunch of different AI models, a bunch of different APIs, and create these really sophisticated workflows that can tackle super complicated tasks.
Okay, I need an example. How would that even work in real life?
Okay, say you need to plan a trip. LangChain could use one API to go and find flights, another API to find hotels based on your preferences, another to check the weather, for when you're traveling, and then yet another AI to take all that info and summarize it and recommend the best options for you.
Whoa, that's like having a superpowered travel agent working 24/7.
It is. And the cool thing is, the more you use them, the smarter they get. Like, they'll learn your preferences, so they get better at understanding what you need and tailoring the results. We're talking about automation that's actually intelligent and adapts to you.
This is seriously cool stuff. It's getting a little sci-fi for me, though. Is this really where we're headed? AI running every part of our lives?
It's definitely a possibility. We're already seeing these tools being used to automate things in, finance, healthcare, education, even creative fields like writing and art.
But if AI can do all of that, what happens to us? Are we all going to be out of a job?
It's a big question, and a lot of people are asking it. I think the key is to think of AI as something that can make us better, not replace us.
So more like humans and AI as a team.
Yeah, exactly. Think about a doctor being able to use AI to analyze medical images and get a second opinion, or a teacher using AI to create personalized lesson plans for every student. The possibilities are huge if we see AI as a tool to empower people, not take over.
That's a much more, optimistic way to look at it. It's not about the robots taking over. It's about using AI to make things better, to help us reach our full potential.
Right. And that's what makes this connection between AI and APIs so interesting. It's not just about the tech itself. It's about how we decide to use it and how it shapes the future.
Okay, so we went from, all the hype around AI to understanding how APIs make it actually useful. And then, you're talking about these complex tools like LangChain, they're like orchestrating whole AI symphonies. It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, and it's really just the beginning, As these technologies get even more advanced, it's kind of crazy to think what we might be able to do in just a few years.
You mentioned a couple examples before, like healthcare and education. Are there any other areas where you think this, AI API combo is really going to make a difference?
One that I think is super interesting is personalized experiences. Imagine your AI assistant knows you so well it can put together your news feed, recommend stuff you might want to buy, even plan your vacations. It could even, help you learn new things or find people who have the same interests.
That sounds pretty awesome. But also a little, I don't know, maybe a little creepy, like Big Brother-ish.
Yeah, I mean, that's a legitimate concern.
Right.
As AI gets more sophisticated, we got to be really careful about things like privacy and data security. There's a balance between making things super personalized and, keeping our information safe.
So it's not just about what AI can do, it's also about what we let it do.
100%. We have to be really conscious about how we want AI to be part of our lives. What data are we okay with sharing? How much control do we want to have? What are the potential downsides and how can we, address them?
It's a big responsibility.
Absolutely. And we have to think about the ethics of it all, be transparent about how it's being used, and make sure it benefits everyone, not just a few. It's why we have to keep having these conversations, keep learning and talking about AI and how it's changing the world.
So much to think about. All right, to wrap up this deep dive, I guess the takeaway is AI and APIs, they're like this dynamic duo that are already shaking things up in a lot of industries. APIs are what make AI actually usable and bring all that potential to life. But we got to remember, tech is only as good as the people using it. We have to be responsible, Think about the ethical side of things and work towards a future where AI is helping us all.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, keep digging into those resources, Stay curious. The future of all this is being written right now, and we all get to be part of it.